welcome everybody to another episode of the Loudwire Podcast. I'm Graham.
I'm Joe.
And today we are arguing the most important topic in metal history, probably. Would you say so?
Absolutely.
Yeah. It is Iron Maiden versus Judas Priest. Which is the better band?
It's the classic debate. I have this, one of my buddies is a huge Priest fan. He's in the middle of a Priest sleeve right now.
Damn.
His favorite album is Rock-a-Rolla. That would be Chris if he's listening. There you go. Shout out. Happy? There you go, dude. Anyway, anytime we hang out, we always end up at the bar hashing out this Maiden-Priest debate. So I feel like I've been training for the last few years just for this podcast here.
Yes, and of course, we could have done this by ourselves. Would have been easy, but...
It's never going to be easy debating Priest-Maiden, dude.
True. But we wanted in a real expert on this kind of thing. A guy who's really devoted himself to heavy metal and been a longtime fan for basically ever since Maiden has been around. And probably close to ever since Priest has been around too. And that is Don Jamieson, awesome comic. And of course, one of the hosts of that metal show from VH1 Classic. That went for like a crazy 13 seasons or something like that.
It had an incredible run.
Huge run. Great following, great host, awesome show. So,
and they did a little bit of debating at the end of every episode.
And they always did some debating. That was one of the cornerstones of the show. So we're like, hey, Don Jamieson wants to come in. He'd be a great debater. We've seen him do it a bunch of times. And he said yes, and man, he did not disappoint.
This might be the most fun podcast we've done yet for me, just because I'm such a huge Maiden dork, and then actually getting to just flesh out this conversation.
Well, I mean, we're all huge dorks, which is why you're listening to this podcast, because you want to hear this argument.
You want in on this debate too.
You do, and we have a comment section for that, so don't be shy. But this podcast left me sweating from the intensity of this debate and going through the many subjects which have to be considered when you're doing an all-encompassing argument over which band is better, whatever the word better really means.
So you're going to hear us go album for album, putting them up against each other as they were released. It gets a little weird once the years start getting stretched out, but as Don admitted, he's a huge Maiden fan. As I'll admit, I'm a huge Priest fan. He's arguing Priest, I'm arguing Maiden, but that doesn't mean that, I'm just going to go blindly check every single Maiden box on there, because Priest are my second favorite metal band.
Right. And it's funny because I tried to stay in the middle this entire time. We'll see how that turned out. But yeah, this is the ultimate debate, comparing every little piece of each band to each other to see which one comes out on top. Ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Sit down.
And shout! Where'd Dio come from?
All right, everyone, Loudwire Podcast. We are here with Mr. Don Jamieson to debate the eternal struggle between Iron Maiden and Judas Priest, who is the best metal band of all time. Well, maybe not of all time, just between those two.
Yeah, and I think it is those two anyway.
And it's Sabbath in the mix. But anyway, let's not throw Sabbath in here right away. Obviously, everyone, Communication Breakdown, the new record from Don Jamieson, the new comedy album. You can't miss it, especially because there's a giant mullet on the cover.
Yeah, so it was the mandatory New Jersey mullet, business in the front, party in the back, wanted dead or alive look.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
That worked with the chicks in Jersey in '88.
Did it really?
Kinda.
Okay.
Maybe it still works for Bobby Blitz.
Well, he doesn't have a mullet. That's not a mullet.
No,
that's just a squiggly Raggedy Ann haircut.
It could get there.
It's his abs.
Dude,
he's got like a 12-pack, that guy, and he's like 58.
Him and Dee Snider. I don't know what's happening in that water. Yeah, I just want to see them
just go toe-to-toe.
I don't know who
ab off.
Yeah. Have an ab off.
Yeah, exactly. Throw some water on him.
I'll test him. We got to test them first for PEDs. Make sure that they're clean.
Judged by Iggy Pop.
Yeah.
All
The
right.
original six-pack man. So wait, can we just start out by saying, first of all, thank you for plugging the album. I appreciate it, out on Metal Blade Records. Number two, can we first start out by saying all three of us love both these bands?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can we say that they should both be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame at some point?
Absolutely.
Okay, and can we say that, we're going to use humor throughout this to make our points? It's nothing personal against either band if we make a joke.
Sure thing.
And it's
No Al Atkins jokes though.
It's okay. Then you're right. I draw the line. I draw the line there too. No Al Atkins jokes.
If I could do an Al Atkins joke, you could do a Thunderstick joke.
That's true. Well, I have a feeling there's going to be some Blaze Bayley jokes in here.
Oh,
but again,
yeah.
We actually just put up a piece that I wrote, 10 reasons why the X Factor is better than you remember.
Our boy. All right, let's get it. That's no better way to get into us than that.
Oh, with the X Factor.
All right. So yeah, we'll kick off this debate with Blaze Bayley versus Ripper Owens.
Oh, please no. Let's
Yeah,
Graham, help us out here.
That's for the last few minutes.
maybe start with an opening statement of some kind.
Well, that was my opening statement because I don't want people to get sensitive and how did you say that about that guy? And look, at the end of the day, if people confront me about this podcast and go, "How did you say that?" I'll just blame it on one of you guys. So really.
I'll take the heat.
I did that on that metal show all the time. They go, "How come you didn't put Steve Vai in your top 5 guitar players?" I go, "I did." They go, "No, you didn't." I go, "No, Jim is the one that left him out," and then I blame it on Jim, and they'd have to go find him and bitch at him.
So yeah, Maiden are my absolute favorite band. I got into them with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 when I was in 8th grade. I heard the song "Number of the Beast." Priest are my second favorite metal band.
Wow.
But it's still a pretty far gap between Maiden and Priest because I'm beyond obsessive. My girlfriend understands the best she could ever be is number 2. Maiden will always be number 1.
Oh, that's rough, bro.
She's going to have to deal with my ball gargling on the way
He's
back from Maiden tomorrow. But I'll concede that Priest invented heavy metal. We talked to this with Zach Wilde on the podcast. Black Sabbath are really just their own genre. When you look at traditional heavy metal, you look at the twin guitar attack, you point to Judas Priest as kind of bringing that forward. But what I think Maiden did a little bit better was that they removed themselves from their punk and rock roots better than Priest did. Priest have always maintained a little bit of that rock and roll sound throughout all of their albums, except for Painkiller. Painkiller, they went full tilt, 100% heavy metal.
Agreed.
And it was completely devastating. But Maiden, in terms of when you're looking at who's the best metal band, you have to look at who's also purely a metal band. And of course, you have those 2 Di'Anno albums with a little bit more of the punk influence and everything. And everybody gets a pass for their early days, removing themselves from their influences and becoming their own.
A pass. Those are still my favorite 2 Iron Maiden albums. They're still the 2 best.
Boy, this is going to be a long
first
podcast.
2, yeah.
Interesting.
First 2 are the best. Look, you don't have to take my word for it. Just ask Kerry effing King which are the best 2 Iron Maiden albums, and he'll say you straight.
Well, he's a bigger Priest fan than Maiden
Priest
fan.
though,
right, but
so.
he'll tell you that the first 2 Maiden albums are still the best 2 Maiden albums.
I'll disagree with that all day.
Yeah, all right. You wouldn't disagree if Kerry was sitting here.
Oh,
just because I don't have tattoos on my head?
Dude,
just because I'm wearing a Waffle House baseball cap?
Kerry's not going to hit anybody. He might bring some snakes, but I would say anything to
That's
Kerry.
just my opinion, but I love that they had those punk roots. But I will say this, if they didn't move away from that, they would have never been as big. Absolutely. That's the truth.
Sure.
You know, they would never have been as, I love Di'Anno. You know, I love those 2 albums. They're sacred to me because I'm twice your guys' age. But if they had stayed with him, they would have never gotten as huge as they are now.
You look at the footage now and it's a challenge to really watch and listen to.
Yeah.
He was going to be playing someplace in Hartford. I was going to go and I was like, I'll get drunk and sing Iron Maiden karaoke with Paul Di'Anno and a live backing band, I guess. I'll just sing it from the crowd. And then the tour got canceled and all that stuff. But yeah, you look at what would have happened if Maiden stuck with Di'Anno. It's terrifying. We wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation.
No, I'm a huge punk guy. Joe can attest to this. I'm a massive punk fan. Grew up on punk rock. Still perhaps my favorite genre of music, right there with metal. But even with that said, I prefer almost every Dickinson album over Iron Maiden and Killers, although I love Iron Maiden and Killers. And, you know, I really do love the sound that they had back then. But when I think Iron Maiden, when I really want to get myself into Maiden, for me, it's the big, epic, operatic, progressive songs that really get me hooked. Even as a giant punk fan, even listening to old songs like Sanctuary, which is basically like a punk song with awesome solos.
Yep.
You know, for me, I just get off on that huge operatic feeling, and that's what I go to every single time I listen to Iron Maiden.
But you know, you're talking about that they, you know, that Priest keeps a little bit of a rock and roll vibe from the early days, but Maiden has a prog vibe. So, you know,
totally.
Which makes them, which I would argue could make them less metal.
But the thing with the progressive aspect is that when you look at metal, a lot of people really harp on the musicianship, and prog is the essence of heightened musicianship and taking your playing and your songwriting, your structure, everything, your composition, and elevating it beyond just the traditional realms.
Right, but also Maiden, you know, Maiden has, you know, their roots are in old school, like hard rock and roll, you know, UFO.
Yeah, Steve's a huge Genesis fan.
Yeah, and Steve's also a huge UFO fan, and also, you know, the
Love to Love is his favorite song.
This is really
What?
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, they play
UFO.
Doctor before every show for the last 30 years.
Knows that.
And he was also, you know, obviously the twin guitars come from Thin Lizzy. So, you know, there's that connection.
No, we have to address the twin guitar attack, because probably the two metal bands that have done it best, Judas Priest and Iron Maiden, in my opinion. But who did the twin guitar attack better?
Ooh.
Well, let's do it this way. I'll let you answer, but let's do it this way. When someone says, the dual guitar attack in metal, who's your favorite? Well, who do you say instantly? KK and Tipton.
That would be my answer.
Yeah. That's your,
Yeah,
like,
I go to Adrian and Dave. But
Adrian, that's a good answer too.
I also got into Maiden before Priest, so that was my first connection with the twin guitar. Okay.
Oh, all right.
That was my first connection with the twin guitar, and that was the one thing, like, I heard those guitars, and that's what moved me and picked and really grabbed my ear for Maiden. So that's always gonna. I'm never gonna.
But would you agree
find
that
anything
if we had 100 metalheads in here right now and we went down the line, 7 out of 10 at least would say KK and Glenn instantly off the top of their head?
They're the pillar.
Okay. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying they're better. I'm not saying either one's better. I'm just saying off the top of your head, who had more of an impact that people right off the top of the head will say KK and Glenn.
Yeah.
Because you also had the 70s to work with. So Maiden were still gigging around England,
True.
and then Priest were just cranking out awesome classic albums that whole time.
Throughout this whole thing, I'm going to try to stay in the middle. I'll let Joe take Maiden. Let you, Don, take Priest a little more. But as someone like looking, I'm going to try to remain objective.
Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless.
Oh, God.
Metal.
Please don't make me be Stephen A. Smith.
Well, trying to remain objective, I think it's definitely KK and Glenn who did the twin guitar attack better. I feel like they did it tighter. They're more ferocious. They innovated that sort of attached at the hip sort of tightness when it comes to advanced guitar playing and melody and harmonizing with each other. I feel like
Even down to the stage moves, they rocked back and forth in unison.
That's true too. And
visually, sonically.
Also, you had KK and Glenn throughout the great majority of Priest's career, whereas with Maiden, you had a lot of years with
you had Dennis Stratton at first, and then
you had
Adrian
Dave
came
Murray.
In on Killers. Dave Murray was there since like 76, I want to say.
Well, then you have a lot of
76
Dave
or
Murray
77.
and Yannick Gers years, though.
Yes, you do.
So,
yes,
and that is absolutely.
Got all the
I'm
90s.
sorry to Yannick, but he does not hold he doesn't hold a candle to anyone else that we're talking about guitar-wise.
Well, I can't ever tell if he's actually playing when you go see him live. The guitar is
he's
throwing
way
it up
down,
in the air,
right?
It's spinning around. He's on Dancing with the
he's
Stars.
Way down in the
Do you
mix.
remember that April?
I mean, Richie Faulkner came in.
He's amazing.
Oh, he's
and
incredible.
he took KK's place like anything.
Yeah.
Nobody complained.
Yanick Gers came in, and the whole crowd went, "Why is he in the band?"
Truth.
There's that April Fool's article that came out that he's actually been playing unplugged for like the last 10, 20 years.
It wouldn't be an April Fool's if you told me that. I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense.
Here's the thing, though, with Yanick. His playing live, kind of sloppy. Some of the solos, I wish he gave back to Adrian. But let's just run through some awesome songs that Yanick has writing credits on here. Be Quick or Be Dead, Man on the Edge. If you want to just discredit the Blaze thing
these
entirely,
are songs nobody's ever heard of, but go ahead.
Come on. Be Quick or Be Dead?
When you start saying Number of the Beast, Power Slave, even
I got to start with the albums that he played on.
Well, those aren't.
So,
there are better ones you could
Ghost of the Navigator off Brave New World.
There you go.
Okay.
More like
Not
it.
bad.
It might be the best song on that album.
It might be.
out of the
but that's also like being the smartest Kardashian.
Oh, you don't
No,
like Brave
come
New
on.
World?
It's all right.
Oh,
It's just
I think that thing's a masterpiece.
Just all right.
It is. So, Out of the Silent Planet, Dream of Mirrors, Montsegur off Dance of Death, probably their heaviest song.
Dance
the song
of Death's
Dance
a good
of
one.
Death.
Good one.
The Pilgrim, the Legacy, the closing track on A Matter of Life and Death. The Alchemist off of Final Frontier. And then the last one, the Talisman off the Final
Talisman is
Frontier.
brilliant.
Okay.
That's
And then the Book of Souls.
There's four of them in there are decent
the
songs.
Book of Souls title track.
Four of them are decent.
So he's had a hand in writing some of their most popular songs since he joined the band. So if you want to discredit his
none of them, I
live
wouldn't say
playing-
any of them are their most popular songs, but they're good songs.
Well,
They don't play any of those songs live.
Well, since he joined, the ones since
Songs he
joined
wrote,
the
they
band.
don't even play live.
Except for the Book of Souls, but they're on that.
Yeah,
Right,
they played
right
Ghost
now,
of the Navigator when they did that tour around the Final Frontier. They played the Talisman.
But
They
that's
played the
it.
Pilgrim.
Look,
They
he's an
played the
easy guy.
Legacy a lot of years.
He's definitely an easy target, and I get your point.
Yeah.
And believe me, he could play circles around me, and I'm sure he'd be running around me in circles if he was
Sure.
playing. Because God forbid,
Circles are
God
definitely
forbid-
part of his thing.
Yeah, God forbid he stands still for 2 seconds. But okay, no point taken on that one. But look again. Now Richie Faulkner has come in, and every fan loves Richie Faulkner. I think it's safe to say maybe half the fans like Yanick,
That's probably true.
Yeah.
somewhere in there.
And
So
Yannick's had two decades.
Yeah. I haven't
3
heard a peep
decades?
out of anybody about Richie Faulkner. Though Steve Harris
No,
said, because
no
he
one.
played in Lauren Harris's band, Steve's daughter.
yes,
So Steve actually said in an interview, if anything happened to one of the guitarists in Maiden, he actually had Richie in mind.
wow.
So here's this guy who just grown up. It's like, yeah, I love Maiden, I love Priest. Like, well, you could probably play in both, dude.
Yeah.
So
Well, KK, I mean, gigantic shoes to fill, and the fact that nobody ever complains about Richie Faulkner, except for maybe like the writing on the new record, maybe, even though the new record was all right.
It was okay.
It was okay. Definitely 21st century material. I don't know, that this may not be a big part of the debate for you guys, but 21st century material, you got to give it to Maiden, right?
I mean, we're looking at what a band has done over the last 17 years. And I'm not.
Well, no,
Priest,
we could go down
For
and
20
go and compare classic albums. I mean, that would
Yeah,
probably
we're
be
definitely
a
gonna
better
get
way
there.
Probably a better way.
try to figure out. Because look, they're almost opposite. It's sort of like, look, Priest started, with like Rock-a-Rolla and Sad Wings of Destiny and Sin After Sin, which are all good albums, well, with the exception of Rock-and-Rolla, But
that's
there's
still a
also in
good
the
one.
age where the production was bad, and they definitely suffered from that. When Maiden came, at least there was
They had those
already
warmer
sort
tones.
of a more modern recording technique. So some of those early albums, but then when you start getting from Hellbent for Leather on, there's such a cluster of great albums in there.
Not a big Sad Wings fan?
No,
even Stained
there's
Class?
great
Okay.
songs on there.
Yeah.
And there's great songs in Stained
Stained
Class, but
Class is
it's just
amazing.
a tough production.
Okay.
You
Fair.
know, they could have easily, obviously, if those albums came out 10 years later. I think production wise, Hellbent for Leather or Killing Machine is that's where they actually got a good tone. That's
Yeah,
where
they got a
it's
little bit
sort
more of the
of-
roaring tones instead of some of the thinner stuff like on Stained Class.
Yeah,
Like you listen to the lead on Saints in Hell, like it rips, but just imagine like what it would have sounded like with some actual balls behind it.
yeah, or Beyond the Realms of Death. That's solo. The bow solos are
Now
great, but the
there's,
first
like,
one, yeah.
you're talking like progressive. That's a fairly progressive song
Yeah.
right there. But one of the few real long epic Priest ones, I would say. But that's a masterpiece. When it comes to anything ever written, period. But obviously, there's no argument when it comes to who's the better bassist, Steve Harris or Ian Hill.
What?
If anyone makes the argument for Ian Hill,
Don's a
I'll
big fan
slap
of Root
them.
Notes.
Yeah.
But
All right, and absolutely no debate. I won't argue it, but I will say this: it's like it depends on what you need for your band.
a
If you need
songwriter.
sexual bass gyrations, Ian Hill's
Ian Hill.
your man.
Yes.
Yeah.
He locks it down. That thing isn't just like an extension of his piece.
But Steve Harris wouldn't work in Priest is the point. You
Oh,
know what
no.
I mean? Even though he's a phenomenal bass player, one of the greatest ever, he would
He'd
not
have
work
to
in
hold
Priest.
back to work in
Yeah,
Priest,
and that's
though.
where Priest still have that kind of rock and roll sound because you have the bass and the drums just kind of holding down the classic like.
But the
a little
real
bit.
the real debate, I think, is Halford v. Dickinson, or even even pre-Dickinson, I mean, Halford Diano, is there an argument there?
No.
No, Al Atkins, Diano.
Paul Mario Day and some of these other, Dennis Wilcock, I think was another early Maiden singer.
Dennis
Really?
Wilcox.
I don't
Yeah.
even know what
I think he was a guitar
I don't
player,
know.
wasn't he?
But
Does Dennis Stratton.
But it is Dickinson versus Halford.
I really think it's a tie. It's just for so many different reasons. You have Bruce, obviously, with the longevity. He sounds, I was just watching footage last night, and he sounds better than he did last year after having a cancerous tumor on his friggin' tongue.
Yeah.
He lost it a little bit in the early 90s, and the huge touring around the world's going to do that to you. And then he tried to do a little bit more of the gritty voice, returning the old sound. But you look at even like his solo albums, like Accident of Birth, I think is his absolute best performance. He was 40 on that, and Halford was 40 on Painkiller. If you want to compare vocal performances for age, I mean, they're really neck and neck. Obviously,
Right, but the vocals on Painkiller are amazing.
They
You
are.
can't mess with Painkiller.
One Shot at Glory. I still hear the bad.
How about just the song Painkiller alone?
That's the most punishing
That's
metal
one
song
thing. Is
ever
when
written.
both bands get rip roaring, Priest are miles ahead of
They're just
of
molten.
Maiden.
Like Bruce can definitely get up there, but I mean, could he get up there and stay up there like Rob does in Painkiller?
No, he couldn't do that
No.
falsetto
No.
stuff like Rob does. And then even if you look at Dreamer Deceiver off Sad Wings with what Rob's doing there, like right when that solo comes in, he's just, I've never heard anything, I mean, aside from maybe King Diamond, I've never heard anything like higher up than that.
You're soaring up in the clouds. with
Not
that,
technically speaking for anybody who wants to be like, oh, well, he had an A7 and he had an A5. Like, get out of here.
I can't look. I'm making the case for personally for me. I love Halford better, but I can't debate who's the better vocalist. They're both phenomenal vocalists.
Wow.
They're both in their 60s and could still
Bruce
sing.
is going to be
Halford's
59 this summer.
yeah, so
He's the only guy made not in his 60s.
yeah, and Halford's 66 now, and
Oh,
on
wow.
their
Yeah.
last tour that I just saw, his voice
He
was better than ever.
phenomenal.
Yeah,
Yes.
we were at this show. It was what, like a 1,500 cap
At the
room or
Paramount
something?
in
The
Huntington.
Paramount. And
Small room for
holy
Priest.
Shit.
Yeah.
That's another.
But-
That's a weird thing though. When it comes to longevity, Maiden
Yeah.
obviously have the edge because you can tell because Maiden are still playing arenas. Priest are
No,
when
Priest
they
are playing,
do play arenas, they're half selling them.
or it's like the 5,000 to 8,000 arenas, and Maiden are still playing 15,
They're still
20,000.
doing
In
15,
Europe,
20,000.
40, 50, 60,000.
No, Maiden's still the bigger band. There's no debate on that. You can't debate it at all. But that's that to me that doesn't mean they're better. That's like saying Will Smith is a better actor than De Niro because his last 10 movies made more money than De Niro's. I mean,
Or
you
The Rock.
just can't do it. Yeah,
So-
The Rock's a better actor than Al Pacino. It's not
Apples and oranges.
You can't go by that.
What about stage presence, though?
Oh
Well,
boy,
Well, I mean, again,
When it comes to the other aspect of being a front man.
right. Look, I mean, Rob with the motorcycle and then the whole, just the image with the leather and all that stuff.
He's really the power and the glory of heavy metal, and
Yeah.
then Bruce is just an athletic front man.
Right. That's a good way to put
Hmm.
it. Yeah. And then, for me, the gags get a little goofy with Bruce, where he comes out with different outfits
Union
and a
Jack
mask
thing
and
for the
a-
trooper.
Yeah. I mean, that's all right. It's okay.
so you like
It get-
Halford's costumes and not Bruce's costumes.
They get a little
Sequins over masks.
They get a little goofy. Well, yeah, all right. And you come out with the Power Slave mask. I get the whole thing, but
Yeah.
there's too many gags for me.
Okay.
It's like with Priest, it's just sort of like there's the image, there's the outfits, you got the great stage show, and then like you kind of wait for the motorcycle and it's not the whole show. You're like kind of getting something new for each song. It's like it's not Broadway, it's metal.
So you think it distracts a little bit from the integrity and the music being at the core
Well,
of
look,
everything a little bit?
I think that. And the guy dancing around on stage left the whole time kind of bums me out.
Back to Yanick again. Jeez. Yeah, it is sort of a bummer. Like that's one thing is that I don't, Priest, they don't really have a weak link that people complain about. Of course, Ian Hill's not going to make any best bassist lists or anything like that.
But he doesn't do anything to bring the band down either.
Right. there's
Sexual
no-
gyrations.
yeah. He may have come up with the gyrations of Judas Priest. He's the longest standing member, so that may be him. That may be his big contribution to
Right.
Judas
There's
Priest.
nobody. Right. There's nobody bringing them down.
No, not at all.
So-
I mean, he could be adding more, but do you want him to add more?
Just clarify longest standing member when we're talking about sexual
It always
gyrations.
comes down to penises with this man. You have no
Finally.
idea. How about drummers? I mean, can any of the Priest drummers stand up to
Clive and
Nico
Nico.
McBrain or Clive Burr?
I think so.
Yeah?
And I'll tell you, this is completely unfair. I actually hear people kind of bash on Nico, and I'm like, Nico's amazing.
Yeah, agreed.
He's just got
I
that
don't-
swing that nobody else can touch.
I don't hear where these people. I don't know and these are Maiden fans that tell me this, and I
He
go,
used this one
what?
kick drum.
They must
Yeah.
just be attached to Clive Burr till the death.
Yeah, it's
I
a weird
guess.
thing, but I will look. I mean, to me, Les Binks was the best Priest drummer. I mean, Scott Travis is awesome, but he can't play like he wants to play.
But
Probably
he's just kind of got Painkiller, and that's
Yeah.
Yeah,
his
he's the
thing.
straightforward, balled out heavy metal drummer.
Yeah, but he doesn't get to really play that the way that that we knew Scott from playing.
That's true.
Back in the Bracer X days
Yep.
and all that stuff. But
A little less flair.
I think you'd ask the old guys like me. Les Binks was the man.
I know a lot of drummers who love Les Binks, so
But Clive Burr, look,
less of a sample size
it's-
to work with Les too.
1, 2, 3. On 3, he was on Sin. No, that was Simon Phillips on Sin After Sin. Les was on Stained Class. He played on Unleashed in the East, which was
He was on
amazing.
Stained
Damn.
Class and Killing Machine, Hellbent for
That's
Leather,
right.
whichever you prefer to call that one.
Okay.
So 2 of them there.
Right.
Stained Class, I think, is one of the most untouchable albums in existence.
Yeah, again, you're right. With production, that album would just be.
And I like the
Deadly.
old school classic production, like back in those days where drums were drums. Yeah, and I'm going to be 28 and I'm saying this stuff.
And drumsticks were penises.
Yeah,
Everything's a penis.
masturbating. I've never heard that before.
So I don't know. Look, Scott. If you put Scott Travis and Nico next to each other with their drum kits and they had a drum off, it would be pretty darn close. You have to say.
I feel like.
How about Where
Scott
Eagles
probably
Dare,
had-
though?
Oh,
That's Nico. He's like, oh, yeah, we heard Maiden have a new drummer, and then you put on Peace of Mind. You're like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think many people were really missing Clive after they heard Where Eagles Dare.
Well, we did top 5 like drum intros on that metal show, and
Yeah.
That was one of them.
if it wasn't number 1,
But
it was
Painkiller
number
was-
2.
Painkiller's
Painkiller?
got to be number one.
Painkiller was in there too. Yeah, so you have that as well.
Is there any better drum intro than Painkiller?
besides
ever?
Hot for Teacher?
I would bring Painkiller over Hot for Teacher. Although
So would
Hot
I.
for Teacher
you have to look at the
is-
time, though, when Hot for Teacher came out, too.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, very true.
We're more into
but
metal, so yeah, we would say Painkiller.
That's a good
But
point.
what would be more iconic? The Hot for Teacher one.
That's probably true.
That's the one
Yeah.
where if you said best drum intro, 9 times out of 10 people go Hot for Teacher.
Okay. Well, Painkiller's that. snap
Painkiller
to
never
my-
got played on the radio
maybe
either,
That,
so
maybe
helps
that
that
has more to do with my age. But
But me and Jim and Eddie went down to Fort Lauderdale where Nico lives, and we did a show down there, a stage show together, like sort of our little That Metal show live on stage.
Oh,
and,
cool.
And there was a Maiden cover band playing after
Really?
us, and Nico came down and he got up and he
That's
played
awesome.
and he
Oh my
played
God.
like 2 or 3 songs with them, and
Made their
they did Where Eagles Dare, and it was just like everybody just focused like a laser in for that drum intro. It was just like you knew it was coming, and you had to watch him do it. I'm standing like 5 feet from Nico doing that drum intro. It was so cool.
yeah.
They used to open the tour with that.
Yeah,
Like, good luck for the next hour and a half, buddy.
yeah, right.
I think one of the harder questions to answer when it comes to this debate, if you take the entire Iron Maiden discography and you put it next to the entire Judas Priest discography, how do you pick the best album?
I put
I
them
have
side
no
by
idea.
I put them side by side, and if that's because what's the criteria at the end of this? Like, who's going to be better? I mean, do you want to go through the albums? They basically have about the same studio albums, same number. I think it's 17 to 16.
Yeah,
right?
17 to 15. Yeah, 17 to 16.
Well, I mean, if you're going to bring out, first of all, let me put this out there. I don't think British Steel is that great.
I don't
Is
either.
that blasphemy?
Here's
I think-
why.
Yes.
Here's why.
Okay.
You're fired.
Very little guitar leads. One of the hallmarks of Priest. And Halford sticks to pretty much the same vocal range. Then you look at like what he's doing on Defenders of the Faith. He does the gritty lower singing. He does the wailing high. He does like the gritty high. Like Defenders of the Faith is the quintessential Rob Halford Judas Priest album.
It's my favorite Priest album.
Yeah,
So I
it's-
agree with you on that. But what I would say is this is like Priest has never done the same thing on any album. So that they decided to do a real compact kind of, this is
Yeah.
the zone
Well, like
we're
Rob said, they were
gonna
listening
stay
to a
in.
lot of Motorhead when they wrote that album.
Which, yeah, I guess you could hear that.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
I don't take that as a negative. I actually take that as a positive because even Turbo, which is the album nobody likes, to
It's
me,
a
I
fun
like
album.
Turbo.
It's
I like
fun.
Turbo.
and I do too.
Yeah.
But what I'd say is just like I would rather have a band try something different and not have it work than
If
I
you
agree
want
do the
with that.
same thing over and over.
if you want the Wailing Halford, if you want the twin guitars, you're saying there's plenty of other Priest albums to go to. So why do
Yeah.
you need one more when you could have something different?
right.
Right. But if you take the monumental record, let's say if we're just doing the monumental, not the personal favorites, but the monumental ones, say A Number of the Beast
Versus Screaming for
you
Vengeance,
throw a
same
Screaming
year.
for Vengeance in there, you throw Defenders of the Faith in there,
Power
you throw
Slave,
a Power
same year.
Slave in there. Which is the best? I have no idea because neither of these bands have a perfect album.
No,
What?
I don't think. No,
None of them have a perfect
I don't think
album.
anybody's got
There's
an album
always-
on par with like Operation Mindcrime. Whereas if you change anything about that, you're ruining that album in a way.
Not to say Operation's a better album, but
Right. I got you.
yeah, in terms of just creating something to absolute perfection, not one note can be stripped away from that record
I'd say
without
British.
diminishing
I'd
it.
say British Steel is
British Steel
Yeah.
even? Oh man. Like don't have to be old to be wise. You can
So
scrap that
great.
one for me.
so great.
A lot of things. I
Yeah,
mean,
I've just.
But let's go Priest Maiden. So what are the? Let's go down the list. Rock. I mean, if obviously Rock-a-Rolla versus the first Maiden album. There's not going to be a
I
contest.
like the first
Yeah.
Maiden album way more than Killers.
Maiden kills.
Prodigal Son and Remember Tomorrow, those nice like 70s jams.
But yeah, if you go in order, Rock.
Sad Wings versus Killers.
Iron Maiden has Iron Maiden's first two. Okay, between Rock-a-Rolla and Iron Maiden,
Iron Maiden.
of course.
Iron Maiden.
Sad Wings versus Killers.
Sad
Wings.
Wow, because see, I
Hell
would be on the
yeah.
fence. I would be on the fence because I'm like you. Even though I like Priest better, I was more into Maiden. When I got Killers, I was like, I knew about Judas Priest, but I wasn't a huge fan until I went to see.
You got that when it
Judas-
came out? 81?
Yeah,
Okay, see, that's different though, because that's completely mind-blowing in 1981 when that comes out versus me and the early 2000s looking back
Yeah.
on the entire Maiden catalog.
That's true.
right. So I saw Iron Maiden open for Priest on the Killers tour.
Really?
Yeah.
Well-
Priest was on Point of Entry, and they were with Deanna with Killers.
Well, what did you
And
think
that's when
of,
I became a Priest fan.
The anniversary of that show is actually coming up soon.
In Asbury Park, yeah.
So then you
So,
have.
so all right, so now we're 1-1. You going to keep score?
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
sure thing.
'Cause I think we're 1-1 now. All
1-1.
So then we
Have
go.
did we both agree that it's Sad Wings?
I said Sad Wings.
I said I'm gonna go I'm gonna say Killers actually.
That's pretty fun.
All right, well then, I don't know. I guess Joe and I have the majority. It doesn't mean we're right though, but
There's
there you
no
go.
right. We're not.
There's
This isn't
no
going to be the end
consensus.
of
Well,
this
he's arguing against his
Yeah.
band. I'm arguing against mine.
Which
Okay.
just shows how much
But we
of a
both got
fan
a
we
vote.
are of both bands.
Okay.
So Sin After Sin.
versus
Sin-
Number of the Beast.
God, don't even say Sin After Sin.
No,
Don't
Number of the
even
Beast.
say it,
As
please.
much as I
Okay.
love Starbreaker and Last Rose of Summer.
Number of the Beast.
Stained Class versus Peace of Mind.
It's
If Peace
tough.
of Mind didn't have friggin' Still Life on there, or not Still Life,
Sun and
Quest
Steel.
for Fire, Quest for Fire.
Oh, that's your conquer on there.
I have a jazz hands dance to Quest for Fire when I get real drunk. That could have been a perfect album, but man, I'm gonna have to go with Stained Class. I think.
Just by a pubic hair. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so hold on. Joe goes Maiden, Priest, Maiden, and then
If I wind up taking more Priest albums than
Wait,
Maiden, I'm gonna-
you're putting. You got to be the deciding vote on these.
I
you're
might
the tiebreaker.
I might do that. Okay, hold
We'll
on.
call you the Starbreaker.
Yeah.
Starbreaker. No, it's Jawbreaker. Never mind. So
Jaw-
Don, you had Maiden, then you
The
had
girls call me the Jawbreaker.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Just
Graham, you
saying.
really think you can live up to the Jawbreaker
Yeah,
reputation?
well, not if it's against Rob Halford. We all know what he's packing.
Oh yeah.
Did you follow his Instagram?
He's not the metal god. He's a metal god for other reasons.
You follow Rob Halford's Instagram?
No.
Oh, he's talking about getting reach-arounds from like skeletons on bikes and free
The
balling.
greatest Instagram profile.
Oh, yeah, it's incredible.
on Earth. Rob Halford legacy.
Yeah, make sure you give that a follow.
Good for
Unlike
him.
it, unfollow, and then follow again.
After that, we are on Killing Machine, a.k.a. Hellbent for Leather.
And Power
versus
Slave.
Power Slave.
Power Slave.
Come on, Power Slave.
Unless you want to start singing,
Destruction.
you give me evil fantasies.
Come on. It's got to be Power Slave. Come on.
Rhyme of the Ancient
Come
Mariner,
on.
Aces High, 2 minutes to midnight,
No,
back in the
Power-
village.
Power Slave is amazing. It's
Lost for Words, their last instrumental.
an instrumental, yeah.
Whatever.
What do you mean, whatever?
Well,
Maiden
I
had
don't-
killer instrumentals. Listen to Clive Burr's drumming on Genghis Khan.
I don't
It's
care.
like proto blast beats.
I don't care that much. Don's thinking.
It's tough. Yeah, okay. I'll be fair. Power Slave.
Absolutely. That's the
Again,
correct
by a
answer.
pubic hair for me.
But then you got British Steel versus Somewhere in Time.
I want to
Not
return.
even.
Not
There's
close.
no argument to be made for
Thank
Somewhere
you.
in Time.
Somewhere in Time.
Get the hell out of here, Joe.
You-
Somewhere in
Are
Time.
you
Oh
sick?
yeah,
I already said.
way over British Steel. Somewhere in Time over British Steel.
God.
Oh yeah.
My
All right, turn this
goodness.
mic
Stranger
off.
in a Strange Land.
My God.
Stranger in a
Oof.
Strange Land.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh.
I want to return to the Somewhere in Time
My balls.
turbo thing a little later, though.
This is where
because
Maiden,
they were
this is
released
where
in the
Maiden's
same
not
year.
gonna win one of these albums.
I made it apparent that I do not think British Steel is that great, and I think it kills Somewhere in Time.
Oh, you guys are
Somewhere
fools.
in
If
Time.
you're going Somewhere in Time, I'm changing my vote from Power Slave
No.
to Hellbent for Leather.
Yeah, but that's what it feels like to me,
But,
almost.
Hold on, let's take an aside on this one though to also discuss the use of both bands using synthesizers in 1986.
Right,
Somewhere
Priest
in
did it
Time
once.
versus Somewhere
Iron
in Time
Maiden
versus
did
Turbo.
it for 2 or 3 albums.
But they both went synth in 86 with Somewhere in Time versus Turbo. And come on, Somewhere in Time's a stronger album than Turbo.
I don't think so.
I love Locked
don't
In.
even
I
know
love
how to
Out in the
compare
Cold.
those
I
two.
love Turbo Lover. I love a lot of songs on that album. But
and there's only, I would argue, there's
Sea of
4
Madness,
maybe good songs on
Call Somewhere in Time,
Somewhere in Time.
Sea of Madness,
Yeah.
Stranger in a Strange Land, Wasted Years. I don't really like
That's
Alexander the Great that much. but
You named the 4.
Heaven Can Wait.
Nah.
And then the other track
Oh,
left
it's
is
a
Long
fun-
It's a fun
Long
sing
Distance
along. I could
Runner.
do jazz hands to that.
Oh man, really picking Somewhere in Time. That's-
Yeah.
There's 2
The
for British
balls on
Steel,
this man.
2 for British Steel on that one, and 1.
I know a singer in a Maiden cover band who Somewhere in Time's his favorite.
Right.
Now, I don't know about that.
Who are you associating with?
Yeah, and
Singer
what are they?
for Wrathchild.
And how high are they getting?
All right,
before
all right.
these conversations.
So then we have Point of Entry versus Seventh Son.
No question.
There's
there.
no
Seventh Son.
Seventh Son.
I think
Wow.
Seventh Son's the greatest album ever made in the history of forever.
Wow.
Yeah.
4 really, really great songs on there.
Oh my God, you serious? On Seventh
Yeah, and they
Son
played
of a
5.
Seventh Son?
Yeah, and they played all 5 of them live on that last tour.
Oh, dude, Evil That Men Do, Claire.
I'm going Point of Entry.
Prophecy. Point of Entry.
Yeah.
Desert
Can I
Plains.
play with
Desert
Madness?
Plains is a great jam.
Highway.
But,
Heading out to the highway.
That's another good one.
Get
That's a
out.
good
Plains.
one.
I hate that song.
What?
I hate
Wait,
Heading Out to the Highway.
Graham, what about your favorite song on that album?
I hate Hot Rockin'. I say it all the time. I hate Hot
Greatest
Rockin'.
music video ever made.
Greatest
That's
music
right.
video ever. Yes. The music video is excellent.
Well, because he picked Somewhere in Time, I'm picking.
Oh,
I'm picking Point of Entry.
jeez.
Put me down.
Wow.
My God.
And then here's where it goes bad again for
This is
Maiden.
bad.
This is
dude.
going to get fun.
But Desert Plains, oof. But I mean,
Killer.
to me, Seventh Son, like, damn near perfect concept album.
It's a good album.
Oh,
It's a good album.
Could be the best. If somebody argued Appetite for Destruction as the best, I can't make an argument against it, but I still usually go with Seventh Son.
all right. Now we have No Prayer for the Dying versus Screaming for Vengeance.
So no prayer for the dying.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
Come on. Okay, I'm glad.
But see, now we're in 1990
Now,
versus
here we go.
1982. So this is
Yeah.
weird and lopsided.
But it's weird and lopsided the whole way. This is good.
Boy.
Because it'll equal out a little later. But
We'll have
right
to
now
do it.
you're about to take
Yeah.
a beating.
Yeah, it's Fear the Dark versus Defenders of the Faith.
Defenders. I
Defenders
don't think we need
by
to even
far.
talk about that.
We are not even going to talk about Fear the Dark, except let's talk about Judas Be My Guide. That's a killer song. Turbo and X Factor.
All right, well.
Oof. Come on, it's Turbo.
Turbo.
It's Turbo.
And I do like X Factor, even though it sounds like
I
Danzig.
hate X Factor.
It sounds like Danzig is singing
Blaze
Iron Maiden.
Bailey. I hate Blaze Bailey.
If you ever had the morbid curiosity in the 80s of what Glenn Danzig would sound like singing with Iron Maiden,
The worst,
sleep
worst,
easy.
almost as bad as Gary Sharon. Almost as bad as Gary Sharon in terms of replacement singers. Blaze Bailey.
That's another discussion. Worst replacement.
Well, it was Maiden was almost playing clubs at that point.
Yeah.
With
yeah,
Blaze.
they got pretty small.
Yeah,
That was-
seriously.
Even with
and
Bruce,
that's not. Look, those are huge shoes to fill. So I don't blame it on Blaze, but these are not great albums.
Okay, then you got
Steve Harris's songwriting did him no favors either.
True.
we got Virtual 11 versus Ram It Down. Come on.
Yeah.
Ram It
Ram
Down.
It Down.
Nails it.
Ram It Down's got. There's so much stuff I love about it.
There's a couple of good
Like
songs.
Hard as Iron. That song rules.
All right.
Very metal.
We've got like a decade between these albums now, but we're still.
But wait a
kinda
minute, we got
going-
Painkiller versus
Painkiller
what?
versus Brave
Dance
New
of
World.
Death?
No, Brave New World. 2000. So.
Well, I'm fully Painkiller on that one.
Oh.
Yeah,
And Brave New
Painkiller.
World is good.
Dance of Death versus Jugulator. Now this is where Priest is going to take a beating. Sorry, Ripper Owens.
Yeah.
I don't
I know
like
so
you
many
very
people who
much
don't
either.
like Dance of Death. I love that album.
Dance of
There's
Death
also
has
the
got some
second
killer
Maiden album I
tracks.
picked up. So it was
Well-
right when I got into them. Like
Yeah,
6
no,
months
no.
after I got into Maiden, that album
So
came
it's
out.
Dance of Death versus Jugulator.
Jugulator.
I gotta tell you,
Don't.
I gotta just
Don?
by the slightest sea hair.
Don't
It's
do this.
it's got to be Jugulator.
Oh, Ripper Owens
I like
record
Cathedral
beats a
Spire.
Bruce
I like
record.
Cathedral Spires.
But the next one,
Bloodstain's fun for a dumb reason.
one's gonna go the other way.
Do you really like?
Oh.
Let's talk about this for a second. Do you really think Ripper outsings Bruce on that record?
Well,
on
I don't think it's
Jugulator
about out
versus-
singing, but
I know, but-
yes, Ripper is underrated.
He's great. No, he is
I
absolutely.
wish they wouldn't multi-track his voice as much as they do. Even like the projects
He's a
afterwards
great
and everything.
singer.
He's a good singer, just standalone. You don't need to put 10 layers of his voice on there to make
No.
it sound great.
All right, I believe Priest is going to take a beating.
Yeah.
So we've got Demolition versus A Matter of Life and Death.
I can win this argument without anybody having to say anything else just by reciting this one lyric from the song Cyberface.
one of the
Don't
best
act-
Iron Maiden songs ever. Everyone loves that song. I always
Off
hear
of-
people in the crowd
off
scream,
of-
"Play Cyberface!"
Off of Iron Maiden's Demolition.
yeah.
Don't access the site or beware his mega bite.
Oh,
Game over, right?
come on.
We're going Maiden on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm not even going to pretend.
All right. Wiping the drop sweat off my face. Then we got Angel of Retribution versus The Final Frontier. Final Frontier, I think, is like a masterful work.
I love that one. Adrian's my favorite guitarist in Maiden. He wrote a ton of those songs.
Final
So he's got-
Frontier is an excellent album,
Finally, somebody agrees.
and Angel of Retribution is a good album. So I'm
Hellrider.
going Maiden on that one.
So let's.
I couldn't believe when Final Frontier came out. I got to be honest. I was super shocked how good it was. I was like,
It's unbelievably
this is a
good.
really good album from beginning to end.
There's so
Yes.
much textured lead playing that's going on in the
It gets
background
better
there.
and better as you go, too.
But
Yes.
Angel of Retribution has Demonizer. And let's just not talk about that song, because that song rules.
Well, that's the painkiller of the 2000s, right?
Yeah.
Well,
That
okay.
vocal performance is sick.
So
Deadly.
the only thing we got left for Maiden is the Book of Souls. And then for Priest, we have Notre Dame and Redeemer of Souls. Let's do Souls versus Souls. Book of Souls versus Redeemer
sure.
of Souls. Book of Souls kicks the crap out of it.
Yeah, there's a few things that I really liked about Redeemer of Souls, like Gates of Valhalla. My one issue is that it just felt pretty disjointed. It's like, here's a little bit of a throwback 70s song, here's a Painkiller styled one, here's like a Heading Out to the Highway type song. So it's cool, kind of just like as a reflection of Priest's entire career, which I think is interesting. Also the way that you have to just approach writing that. But the Book of Souls is just, like everybody who'd been doubting Maiden for a while, who didn't like The Final Frontier, didn't like A Matter of Life and Death, didn't like Dance of Death, like everybody was just kind of walloped in the balls by that one.
I know. Look, and for me, the production isn't there on Redeemer, so I'll actually, even though to me Book of Souls is just it's an okay album, it's still better than Redeemer. So I'll go Maiden on that one.
All right, so we have another Maiden. So let's.
So should we reveal this at the end of the podcast? Are we at the end?
I think we're coming near the end, unless there's another point that either of you would like to discuss.
There's two major points I want to talk about.
I will add these up while you're talking.
Yes.
One is keeping the name alive after these bands are gone. Maiden's going to be able to do that much better than Priest just by virtue of having Eddie. Their merchandising, they're like Eddie's face is on everything.
Yeah, but Priest
They've
will
got
have
the
Rob
Maiden.
Halford's Instagram page.
You make a tough argument.
Well, Eddie is easily one of the greatest band mascots of all time, of any type of music. But when the guy in your band is called the Metal God,
He invented the metal look. You got the leather and the studs. But in terms of keeping the name out there, because one of the issues is after these bands aren't with us anymore is how do we keep the name alive? So there's tribute events and things like this, but they don't get the constant press coverage that they did, and slowly the name just starts to kind of fade from instant memory a little bit.
I think they'll both. I think they'll both hang in there. I think the mascots aside, they should both be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So I think both. I think that's equal. I don't see your argument for the mascot keeping them alive longer when you have a band with a guy named the Metal God.
I just have so many more merchandising opportunities, and even
like
Maiden came out with a video game. Every level is named after a song lyric, and you've got all these different playable Eddie mascots. There's just so much more untapped potential with Eddie because you could really take that and run in any direction because you're not exactly having to stick with just the music part.
KK Downing has men's cologne.
Does he?
That's right.
Is that what you're wearing right now? And then I guess the other thing would be, one thing that Maiden have done that really I haven't seen any other band do is repeat their exact peak touring days. They did the early days tour where they only played material off the first 4 albums. Then they focused next on the Power Slave era, and then next the Seventh Son era. So
right, they always alternate. They alternate new album, nostalgic.
Then,
I think that's cool as hell.
And it gives all the kids like me who didn't grow up in the 80s a chance to see that exact tour. And it's not like, oh man, I missed out on Maiden's heyday. Like, no, Maiden's heyday is happening right now.
If you missed Power Slave, which obviously you did because you weren't even born.
89.
That stage setup was so cool. Absolutely.
I've got the Live After Death LP, so I've got the whole nice booklet and everything, the gatefold to look at.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, I do think that's cool because then your fans know, okay, this is the Book of Souls tour. We're going to hear a bunch of songs off of that, so don't come expecting to hear a lot of the old classic stuff. Then they know the next year is going to be, okay, we're going to concentrate on this album. Now, with that said, if you look at everyone who's seen the set list, because of course with the internet, after the first show, everybody looks to find the set list.
Naturally.
Everyone that's seen the Maiden set list has said the same thing. I know 4 songs on here.
They play about 45 minutes of new material. And then the rest, like hour 45, 2-hour set is all classic stuff. And then Blood Brothers being the only stuff from the Bruce reunion era.
But again, for me, classic stuff is Power Slave back. Classic stuff for you is Brave New World back.
Classic stuff for me is still Seventh Son back. That's what I consider the classic period.
But if you really look at the set list, everyone's
but they've
sort
always
of a
done
bummer.
that. Yeah. They've always been heavy, and not many bands can be nearly 40 years into their career, put out a new album, and play 45 minutes of new material, and have everybody in the arena singing along with it.
But they begrudgingly. I would say a band that's been around.
I think those are casual fans though that are saying that.
I think
like, oh, they're not playing Run to the Hills. Like, thank God they're not playing Run to the Hills.
That I will agree with you on. If Priest never played Living After Midnight, no problem at all. Yeah. Now, when they play it and you're there, you do get into it because it's fun. But yeah, I wouldn't have any issue. Like, obviously, I know that because of legal issues, they're not playing Hallowed.
And that's a damn shame.
But they've played that every tour, basically.
Every tour except for that Seventh Son tour. That's the first time they dropped it.
I didn't shed a tear for Hallowed, but
So it doesn't bum me out, but there are some times when I'd rather hear a band play something off the new record if it's strong. Then do I have to hear Run to the
100%.
Hills again? You know, do I have to hear Living After Midnight again? I don't. If they play it and I'm there, I'm going to get into it. But no, I don't need to hear those ever again.
It's just, I haven't seen another band that's able to do that and just go out and just recreate their early successes. And like, we're only going to play material from our first 4 albums, and we'll fill a 2-hour set with it, no problem.
I think there's a better balance for bands that have been around 35 years, for your fans to not take up 45 minutes to an hour with new stuff. Maybe do 35 minutes of new stuff, 40 maybe.
Hard when you got 10-minute songs.
This is true too, right? All
right. Are you guys ready for the tally?
We're ready.
Joe, you had a tally of 9 Iron Maiden albums, 7 Judas Priest albums.
Oh, that is close.
It's pretty close.
Oh, my God.
You had 9 Judas Priest albums, 7 Iron Maiden albums.
Wow.
So it was the exact opposite for you guys. Me, on the other hand,
the tiebreaker here. So we were tied. Our arguments were completely useless because we tied.
Shut this podcast off right
10
now.
Iron Maiden records
and
on
11
my side, and
Judas Priest.
6 Judas Priest. Only 6 Judas Priest for me when comparing them.
Wow.
But year by year.
I demand a recount. I'm like Trump. I want to.
I'm sorry. That's the thing. But
hold on. Let's have the very important virtual 11 or demolition debate.
Oh my God. Oh, you're right.
Let's wipe this. But let's wipe this. Let's wipe those off.
Blaze
We don't
Bailey
need to.
screw Blaze Bailey. I'm not picking any.
Hey, we can go the
records.
better. We know who the better replacement singer is. So
Yeah,
we
that's not even an argument.
we should get extra points
The
for
Ripper,
that. But
the Ripper stuff beats the Blaze Bailey stuff hands down.
Yeah, and what's interesting, at least for Priest, is in the mid-'90s, they were doing the most uncool thing of all by trying to go straight up heavy metal.
Right.
They didn't try to cater to any trends.
Correct.
Maiden didn't really cater to any trends either, just kind of sounded
it
like
was
they
cool-
did
it was
because they
cool
didn't have
for
a
us.
falsetto singer.
It was cool, right? But I understand you uncool to the world because, but it would have
Nothing
been
was as uncool as traditional heavy metal in 1995.
right. But thank God they didn't go grunge because then you would have to deal with that. Like when Kiss went grunge in the 90s, it was like, ooh,
Garbage.
yeah, it was bad. So
But one question that we have not answered that maybe we can finish it on is, what is the best album, period?
Between the two?
Between the two. Stack them all. Which is on the very, very top? Will it be a Maiden album or will it be a Priest album?
Well, I've said Seventh Son is
Seventh
my favorite
Son.
album of all time.
Seventh Son is Joe's top pick.
and my top pick is Defenders.
Defenders of the Faith.
Yeah. I go back and forth between Defenders and Painkiller for my favorite Priest.
Wow.
Because Defenders, though, if it didn't have Defenders and Heavy Duty to close out the album, it's just like boom, boom, boom.
Right.
But, I mean, you've got The Sentinel, which is Judas Priest's best song. Agree? Disagree?
I couldn't argue against that. But well, actually, Free Will Burning, I would pick off that album as the better song.
I would pick The Sentinel, but Free Will
But
Burn.
the Sentinel is
Sentinel just has everything about Judas Priest all in one song.
True.
If someone's like, what did Judas Priest sound like? Well, if you want the full run of it, like, yeah, here's
But
The
I just
Sentinel.
love that. I love that real fast singing in Free Will Burning.
If I had to
Look
pick,
before you leap us never been like keep our free.
I sang that.
yeah.
Graham, that was your birthday at karaoke, right? I sang that drunk with a cold.
oh yeah, thank you,
Oh, that must have been good.
Yeah.
thank you for
I
that.
did
by the way.
Painkiller at karaoke once, too.
Whoa.
Yeah. Lost a lot of people left.
I gotta say, if I had to,
I love that.
If I could only bring one album by a band either called Iron Maiden or Judas Priest to a desert island to listen to until I die, it would have to be Number of the Beast. And that might be a boring answer for some people, but that's the one I've played the most. I've damn near destroyed that CD.
Children, Prisoner, Hallowed.
Oh, you know how much I love The Prisoner. Hallowed be thy name. Again, you can take Run to the Hills out of there, but
So many people hate Gangland. I love that song.
Oh, I do too.
I don't like Gangland that much.
It's ferocious.
But you know what? Here's one last thing. I think Invaders could have been just completely stripped off that record.
Great verse, awful chorus.
Awful opening track. Maybe the worst opening track to the greatest album ever.
Yeah, I think we discussed that on that metal show.
Really?
Such an oddball way to start the album.
Yeah.
Especially back in the day of LPs.
Yeah.
You know, like
When
that's
you have
the first thing you're hearing.
when you have limited space. And then you start it with Invaders when you could have started it with Children of the Damned.
Children of the Damned would have been, that's definitely perfect.
The Prisoner.
Children of the Damned is perfect at the number 2 spot on there.
I know, I'm saying The Prisoner should have started it. Imagine that. Or
We want
even just Number of the Beast.
Yeah, Number of the Beast should have started it, yeah.
That's probably
Imagine just
true.
dropping the needle and just, woe to you.
Oh, okay, you're right.
Yeah.
You're dead right.
Some people might not have made it past that little intro.
Yeah, because
Like,
that would have
whoa.
been like, that would have been up there with like Sabbath with the rain at the beginning of the first Sabbath album.
yeah.
Just that like, whoa, what this album's gonna rule.
This
and
ladies
stage you
and
get
gentlemen.
Invader.
Yeah, that would have been everybody. This,
All right, better Invader song, Priest or Maiden?
Oh, Priest.
Yes.
Oh,
Priest.
that's
All
no
right,
contest.
Small victories.
But imagine introducing Bruce Dickinson to the world with Number of the Beast and that beginning verse and the scream.
Speaking of
Imagine,
introducing
yeah.
Bruce Dickinson to the world, go and listen to Beast Over Hammersmith. It was recorded like just a few days before Number of the Beast came out. It was like, oh yeah, this is a little song called Hallowed Be Thy Name.
Absolutely crazy.
Oh, Children of the Damned, this new one.
Yeah.
And playing it to people who've never heard these songs before. And like you hear it and there's just kind of like this weird dead silence after they play Hallowed because people are just like, whoa. And then they just erupt.
All right. So I don't know if we came to any definitive conclusions here. I don't think a definitive conclusion.
I think
will
album-wise,
ever.
it sounded like you guys had Maiden
We
over
both had
Priest.
Maiden. You had Priest, but a lot of people listening probably have Priest over Maiden. The debate will never
Comment
ever
section's going to
end.
get good on this one. Be nice to each other.
Yeah.
I hope so. Thank you so much, Don, for joining us for
Thank
this
you,
podcast,
guys, man.
We appreciate your time. Again, Communication Breakdown, the new comedy record from Don Jamieson. Just look for the mullet, and that's the record for you. Pick that thing up. Available at all fine music retailers, online, all that great stuff. Don, thank you so much, man. We appreciate your time.
Hottest daughter of any Priest and Maiden member, Steve Harris'
Steve
daughter.
Harris' daughter. Yeah.
Yes.
I haven't
I'll
seen
leave it
any
at
other
that.
daughter.
She used my chapstick once,
Rob Halford
and
would
I
make
still
a
have it. Yes,
Rob Halford would make a beautiful, beautiful daughter, though.
he would.
I must say. All right. Thank you again, Don. So there it is. The debate of all debates.
I thought that was really funny how I was 9 and 7.
I know. I tried
Don
to
was
stay in
9
the
and
middle.
7 too.
You guys were very, very close.
I think there's also a little bit of an outlier there because Don was trying to keep tabs of his Maiden versus Priest albums, and he noticed that he was leaning a little too far on the Maiden side and was like,
Yeah,
well, it looks like I'm in trouble. I think I'm just going to go ahead and pick this Priest album here. So 9-7 for Don with a nice little asterisk there.
Oh, come on.
Just like next to Tom Brady's career because he's a convicted cheater.
Oh, goodness.
But so really, Don could be at 8 and 8.
Do you really think so? Or are you just saying
I
that
think he
because
came
you're
on
a
this
Maiden
podcast
freak?
to debate that because Priest is his favorite
You
band.
picked Somewhere in Time.
Yeah, because I love that album.
Oh, you could have easily been 8 and 8
Dude, what's
if
wrong?
you had some taste.
All right, let's hash out this Somewhere in Time thing right now. This is the bonus part of this episode.
Yeah, this might be where you want to explain yourself.
So, I don't know. Look at
My
it.
taste is perfect.
Well, no. What's your issue with Somewhere in Time though?
I don't like it.
What about? Is it the synthesized guitars?
I just
Is it
I don't like the
that
songs.
like weird futuristic production?
The songs aren't good.
You don't like Stranger in a Strange Land?
No,
Why not?
it's not good.
Adrian's dad thought it was the best Maiden song ever written. It was his favorite. And
Why? Was it written about him?
No, but they also won't play it live because it's too emotional for Adrian and his dad has passed away. And that was his favorite song. At least that's what I've read probably on some forums or something.
I still hate that song.
Man,
I'm
it's
sorry.
such a great song.
I love Wasted Years, but that's it. That's where it ends for me.
Wasted Years I actually used in my senior quote in the yearbook in high school. It was the chorus for Wasted Years.
No,
But what about Caught Somewhere in Time?
no. Just
Dude.
don't. No.
See
The answer is
madness
no.
with that
The
fat,
answer is
clanky bass.
The answer is no.
But you like Seventh Son, so it's not the synthesizer.
I love Seventh
So it's not the
Son.
synth or anything there.
I didn't say it was the synths. I
But-
said it's the songs. I just don't like the songs.
You know, Bruce wanted to record an acoustic album with Maiden after Power Slave.
Oh,
And
yeah,
then-
Journeyman's not that bad.
Yeah, well, that came way later. And then Steve
Yeah.
was like, huh. No. And that's why Bruce has no writing credits on the album.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I would have preferred to hear an acoustic Maiden album. Probably
In
not
1986?
really. No, not in between.
Because today you would be wondering, oh, what would have happened if they didn't write that acoustic album? Could we have had one more super glorious Bruce album? The answer would have been yes, because they would have written Somewhere in Time, because it is a glorious album.
I just don't like Somewhere in Time. Sorry.
That sucks. I suddenly have an extra ticket for Iron Maiden now.
Well, everybody, we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Loudwire Podcast. Please leave your comments below because we want to hear what you have to say. Please head over to loudwire.com for all your daily rock and metal news. Follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. Follow me.
Graham,
That's your
name.
on Twitter at Grahamwire.
And follow me. Easy there, Graham. I got it.
Okay.
Joe at
Thanks.
Ice Nerve Shatter on Instagram. It's a Godflesh song. And Rob, if you're listening, I'm sorry. I love you. I love Judas Priest. Maiden, they were just there first. I'm sorry, Rob.
They weren't there first.
For me.
Oh, gotcha.
For me.
And make sure to follow Don Jamieson on Twitter at Real Don Jamieson. That's it, everybody.
Spell Jamieson.
Jamieson. Thank you, everybody. Tune in next time for another episode of the podcast. So you messed me up. I want to say see you next time.
Yeah, last
But
time
then
you
last
said
time you were
see
like,
us.
that's not right. And you're like, damn it. You're
It's not-
correct.
It's still not right.
You will hear me next time, and I will see your comments.
There you go.
Later, everybody.
Later.
Have a good one.
Break the wall.